Hello, this is Gene. This morning I woke up after doing my walk. I looked at my iPad and it likes to show me the news of the day, and it's usually the leftist outlets that are on iPad. I don't know how to change that, but it comes up. And a little blurb that said that most people blame Trump and the Congress for school shootings. And I'm like, what? Will we ever take responsibility for anything in this country? I rail and rail about females not taking responsibility for what they do. But Jesus, people, Trump is at fault for this. The Congress is at fault for this. As much as I hate the Congress, to blame the Congress as an entity for school shooting is stupidity. And I was thinking about this because a couple of days ago after this happened, I had a long conversation with my wife. And although she understood what I went through, high school, I tried to explain why I'm not going to say that I didn't sympathize with Nicholas Cruz here. What he did was awful. He should be in prison for the rest of his life. If the state decides to electrocute him, I'm not going to say no to that. But I was so bullied in my high school, in middle school, that there were several times when I was sitting in my room thinking about how can I kill people. Now, this is going to get out on the internet, and they're going to say that, oh my God, I'm a threat to people. But I went past all that. But if I had access to a gun, if I had somebody that was egging me on, I might have done something. I don't know. I doubt that I would have. But the feelings I had in my mind were probably similar to his. And I was one of the first generations that dealt with the defaming of boys in school. Clearly, I didn't have it as bad as this young man did. I grew up not with my natural father in the home, but I had a man in the house that basically checked me when I needed to be checked. Nicholas didn't have that in the house. Most of the people who are school shooters don't have it in the house. They don't have a strong male figure in the house. And there are some articles that come out talking about bringing this up, the lack of fathers in the home. But nobody wants to hear this. We want to get on TV and virtual scheduling saying it's the president's fault somehow because he lives in Florida at some point in time, but somehow he knew Nicholas Cruz. I guess you could say that the FBI, which I guess is under his charge somewhat, that he could take some of the blame for that. But I don't really understand this. When the FBI had all the signals on him that the boy was visited by cops 30 times when he was living with his mom, that he was expelled from the school. All this is rational, logical, not motivations, but it's excuses for not what he did, but you could see there was a pattern here. But somehow we want to blame the Congress and the president, because nobody can reflect inward and see what the real problem in this country is. So there are some people that come out and talk about it. Stephen Molyneux has been talking about it. Some, to a point, Jordan Peterson has been talking about it. Some other people have actually come out and say a lot of these guys did not have fathers in the home. Paul Elam has been talking about it. Unfortunately, these people are on the conservative side, and everybody just says, I guess we're all about this. We support school shootings. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but last night, Steven Crowder had somebody out there, and they were talking about male privilege on campus, and some kid came up there, and he was so emotional. And here was a big dude, probably 6'2", 6'3", nice-looking white kid, could probably have any woman in the girl, but just listening to what he's talking about, he was a mangina, but not really, because he believed that there's differences between the sexes, and he thinks that men should just have to white knight for women all the time, that they can't make good decisions, and we have to basically solve it for them. And the one part that really got me upset is that he talked about a girl that was raped on campus but wouldn't report it, and Stephen kind of like put his head back like that, and the guy was like, that's her choice. She should do what she wants to do, and you shouldn't roll your eyes about that. And Stephen's like, so this rapist is going to do it to somebody else. Is that the right thing to do? I said, I think that her choice was wrong there. I'm not blaming the victim people. But the choices were wrong there. You should report it when it happens. So getting back to the boy crisis, when this country will not look at what's going on, even in my own house, when I talk about this, my wife comes up other things. Somehow she still has to defend the idea that this public school, which is 85% female teachers, that's somehow good for boys. That she thinks it's okay that, a single mother can still raise her kids, and we should be thankful that they're doing it, because I guess most of the people most fathers are just all deadbeats. And it's like somehow she's defending them. She's like having to defend the sisterhood when she realized that every statistical thing out there shows that not having fathers in the house just is a bad precursor for what's going to happen to the future of both genders when it comes up. The girls don't have a male figure to look up to, and what they do is end up going out with guys that don't treat them well. And the boys don't have any male mentorship, and they do stupid stuff to act out. And there's no woman that can really control their boys. They can say they do this. I'm going to pick up my shoe and throw him at him. At some point, the boy's going to do what he wants to do, and you can't stop him from doing it. There was a whole time in my life that I had this fight, how to have my kids either respect me or fear me. And I went back and forth with it because I was growing up in this whole thing about this Dr. Spock thing that, get down and talk to your kids at their level and all that stuff, and don't make them be fearful of you. And I think that some of that might be right, but I think that there's a healthy dose, of fear that kids should have about, especially the fathers. They should know that usually the father's the one's going to work. Okay, I'm talking about when I grew up. There were still women at home at that time. So the father would come home and had to deal with the fact of whatever the kid did wrong right there. And that was like I'm going to tell your father, don't do it, I'm going to tell your father. And maybe the kids would change their behaviors. When there's no father around, the boys do what they want to do, the girls what they're going to do. And what happens is, this is something nobody wants to talk about, especially when it comes with female single parentage, is that the mothers sometimes compete with their daughters. If a daughter brings home a boy, the mother will actually compete with the daughter for attention, and it happens all the time. And this idea that they love their kids so much more, and they did so much because they're single mothers, a lot of them don't. At the end of the day, they may change their attitude, but a lot of them still, you see it all the time. Women will get their hair done and all that stuff when the girls bringing their boyfriends over. It's one of those weird things that it's almost primal, that because she doesn't have a man, that she has to put herself out there. And if she could, she will do what she has to do to get that attention from a male. So I don't know why I started all this, but I just get back from a walk and I'm feeling okay, take a shower, and the first thing I see on that is that the poll says that everybody blames Trump and the Congress for school shootings. And I'm like, this country and the people, who are you asking? Who's taking these polls? Of course it's not his fault, and it's not Congress's fault. It's the person who did it and the culture that allows this to happen. You cannot sit there for the last 40 years and say that boys are the problems, and when you show boys that have problems, you do nothing about it except medicating them with mind-altering drugs. You have no fathers, no men in school to mentor these kids. They have nobody that will actually put the foot down in a constructive way. You don't just throw somebody out of school because you can't sit in your chair for a long time. This happened to me. I was falling out of my chair all the time. Back then, they would have said what I had was ADHD or autism. I got through it. I got stronger. I just got past it. And I think there were a lot of people that are like that. I think this kid was a little bit further than that. You just can't. He was an adopted kid, so we don't know about the biological effect from his parents. Maybe they were psychotics. I don't know. As soon as he gets adopted, his dad dies. And then for the next 14 years, he's under the roof of a single mother. There is something to this. I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming her specifically. But it's all right there. When you look at the statistics and you see that most of the people that are school shooters are young boys that come from fathers' homes, or even if he has a father, he's dissociated from him, or they're abused as kids. And again, I'm not taking away his excuses here. What he did was wrong. There's no question about it. He should fry, or whatever you want to say. But to say that it's the president's fault when it's clearly the culture, this cultural Marxism that we just invaded ourselves, and says that the only person that has any value in this country are women, young girls. And boys, you're just there as a tool for them. And then if anything happens, it's their fault. And especially if you're white, it's your fault. And that's going to happen if you're the majority of a society and there's ills in the society and you're considered the privileged class and you happen to be white. I get that to a point. I understand why black people feel like they're the others. I get all that shit. I absolutely do. But what I don't like is when they don't take responsibility in their communities. It's like LeBron basically calling our president a racist on an ESPN thing when he was in a car with him and Durant. Just basically saying he's racist, or at least agreeing with that terminology that he's a racist, and then saying that Trump doesn't understand what the rest of the country wants, even though he won. He got 55 million votes. And that everybody just louds him like he's somebody that he's a figure. He understands. He has to think. He knows what he's talking about. This guy has been coddled his entire life. No one's ever told him no in anything. So when he calls out, when Trump calls out athletes, they get offended and they just, oh my God, I can't deal with it. I can't believe it. A man that was white who has all this money is calling me out. So clearly it's racist. The other part is if somebody calls him out and they're called racist for calling him out. Look, is he talking about black on black crime in the black community? Is he taking all his money and doing stuff in the inner city? He might be in Cleveland. Fair play to him. I would ask if that's just really something to get tax off, get a tax cut on his income, which it probably is. But he talks about guns, and I'm like, really? Do you think that you don't have guns? I mean, there's videos of you shooting military grade armament. I mean, you want to blame somebody who's the president of the United States. It's like I would never blame Obama for everything that happened during his presidency. I will say that he made racial issues worse, and he had a real opportunity. And why I voted for him the first time is because I thought that he would be a good person to kind of like solve that. In 2008, there wasn't this divide between the races as there are right now. And I don't know what that is. I think because you have social media and everybody, they want to get outraged so much. You know, even though everybody has access and everybody has technology and everybody has food pretty much to eat and everybody's fat in both communities. So it's not like everybody's dying because they're not eating. It's like, so I think that he has some blame for that. He didn't do well there. Let's put it that way. You know, he didn't look at, you know, when it comes to feminism and when he look at male issues and the black community, he just took the narrative of the left and he didn't want to logically and look at it, or he just said, oh, well, you know, I'm just going to follow along with this stuff. And you wonder if there's some sort of nefarious type of thing going right there. You don't know. I was never on that side that he's a Muslim or he was born in Kenya and all that shit. But clearly he has a leftist ideology, and I think that's a bad thing. Anyway, this country is going down the fucking tubes, and I feel like I'm talking to nobody out here because 30 or 40 people watch my videos. I hope that it's somebody is waking up and just at least looking around. Just don't believe what you see in CBS or CNN or even Fox News for that matter. Just further down, I mean, with 17 or 16-year-old boys are out there or girls are out there talking about they're going to march in Washington and they're going to try to do something and take our guns, which I don't have any, but if I had it, you know, they don't care that 60,000 people are dying from overdose from opioids. They don't care about that, apparently. We're not going to march in Washington, D.C. about that, though. We're not going to talk about all the people that kill themselves every year with a gun. that are almost 80% men. Nobody wants to want to do things that if it's a children, maybe, or if it's anything that happens to women, that we have to march for them because apparently they're oppressed. And it just everybody's a victim now. Now clearly the 17 kids that were killed, and some of the adults that were killed were victims. The students in the school are obviously victims. Some will have PTSD, and these guys get on there. It's like, you can't talk about my PTSD while I do all these videos and all those interviews with everybody else when you're laughing all the time. You know, the denial, maybe it's coming, but these people, it's just weird. Obviously they're a different generation than mine, and whatever. But how they just took the fame and just hoarded themselves out there, and now they're going to be they're going to clearly be around. These people are going to be probably in the Democratic Party, and I'll have to deal with them at the political level as well. Some of them are, because they're so, oh God. It was like, remember my son was this way, and he got red-pilled, and he's still a liberal, but he's not, he would have to be laughing at this shit. And the guy that from, I think they were at TCU, and this white kid, like I said, nice-looking dude, probably 6'3", nice, and everything, any woman would probably love him. But just listen to what it comes out of his mouth. It's like, holy shit, I was born with privilege, and we're talking about male privilege, and women can't defend themselves, and I don't care that guys get killed more than women. I don't care that more guys died at the workplace than women. I'm here about women. I'm like, so you're not about equality. You're about, we have to put all women up on this pedestal, and every man should just fall down to make sure that nothing happens to him. I think a lot of guys are like that deep down, that will probably die just to save certain women. That's probably DNA, or that's instinct from years and billions of years ago, whatever. But this kid was clearly brainwashed. And then at the end of the little video, there was a gender professor like yelling from the outside. And Steven's like, come out. We can talk about it after we're done with him. And of course, they won't do it, because when you sit there and talk to these people rationally, they have no excuse for what they say. I mean, there is no rights that women or that man had over any women. They don't. Not in the West. Women are the women are most privileged entity in Western civilization. They just are. And I hate it when young men are just so cucked so much that they don't know what they're doing. So it's all part of what I started with. The boy crisis, this kid is clearly a victim of it. He was told all his life that you're a person of privilege and you should always be guilty about it. It's not something that you hope will be the future of our country. Because women do not like men that are like this. He's a nice-looking guy. You would think he probably has all the women in the world. But I think when it comes down to it, he probably has a hard time dealing with women. I think that women don't want men to sit there and say, "Is this okay if I kiss you right now? Is it right if I touch you right here?" Or I want you. Women at times want us to be assertive. They absolutely do. Everything shows to that. They flock to see stupid BDM movies. They read it up. This is what they want. And I'm talking about in contents here. I'm not talking about rape people, okay? I'm talking about you're with somebody. Women don't want you to be non-aggressive, let's say. They want you to be confident when it comes in almost everything. They want you to be in charge. And at the end of the day, they want to be submitted when it comes to lovemaking. They absolutely do. There are times that they want to be physical, yes. But women, this is true. So, I mean, if you actually sit here and listen to this almost 20 minutes in, and you think I'm a misogynist for saying it, I think that if you're a female and you see this, take a step back. This is exactly what you want. You want them to take charge when it comes to that. And then at those times that you feel like being in charge and do it, you do it. But 95% of the time, you want the men to take charge. You like it when a man is pursuing you. It's going after you. I can't say the word. Women like it when 3 or 4 men are vying for their attention. It happens in the animal kingdom. It happens here in the human race. It just does. And it's strange because this kid talked about there are differences between the genders. So is he a real feminist? Or is he just somebody, whatever. I feel so bad for the guy. But that's all I had to talk about. Don't even know what I'm going to call this. Basically, our culture is just destroying the leaders of the tomorrow. And just sitting there watching it happen, it's very disheartening to me. And I hope that we get past it. Anyway, thank you for guys watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.